What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rana Inspires, aka the Little Engineer That Could, and welcome back to the YouTube channel where all we do is give practical advice to engineer success in your life. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back, and I hope you all are checking out all the videos that I'm posting. I just posted a vlog with my son and I, getting him to do hard things. I think that's something that everybody could relate to, getting their kids to do hard things and getting themselves to do hard things. So check that video out. But that's not why I'm here today. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that is near and dear to me that I've been thinking about for quite some time. And I think it's something that a lot of people can relate with. So I don't know for you, but have you ever fired off a text quickly and regretted it after? Or you might have said something out of anger and immediately regretted it. Or what about the temptation comes around and you immediately start entertaining it? I think that in life, um, we all make horrible decisions when we react too quickly. And this happens to everybody, right? You know, I'm talking to men when I'm talking about these things, but this happens to women too, where we make decisions or we make very poor decisions because we react in such a short time and we didn't give ourselves some buffer. Now, as an engineer, I've come to realize that a lot of systems work best when there's some buffer between immediate action and reaction. Now, that's not goes for all systems, but think about a car, right? When you're driving a car, you hit a pothole. All that energy from that tire hitting that pothole isn't immediately felt by the person driving the car. At least, thank God, not nowadays with these really good cars out here. I mean, there's some type of buffer between that. And for in cars, it's our shocks. Our shocks absorb it, it dissipates the energy throughout. We feel the bump, but we don't get that full impact immediately. I think the same thing happens in life. In life, we also need some type of buffer. And I believe that God has blessed us with the best two buffers that we can use to get through life, and that's time and space. Time and space are the shock absorbers of life. That's for us humans. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how does time and space act as a buffer? Well, I strongly believe that time and space, one, can heal us, time and space, two, can grow us, and time and space can protect us. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is all that time and space does for us, but these are the three things that I want to touch on today. So, time and space. How does time and space heal us? Now, I don't know if you could relate, but you may have been in a breakup, lost a job, you may have been in a toxic situation, been in a dangerous situation, but and at the moment that it happens, in that moment, it's intense. It's intense. It feels like it will never go away. It feels like if you're the pain is just unbearable. You're so close to the pain that it's unbearable. No, if you've given yourself enough time and space from that situation, you may not go back to how things were, you may not go back to normal, but if you give enough time and space, you are eventually healed. Time, it separates your emotional attachment from that situation, from the environment, from whatever that happened. And then space gives you a whole new perspective on it. So that's why I say time and space heals. And we all know this. If you've ever lost a loved one, you know that when it just happened, you're so close to the situation, you're so close to that time that the pain is almost unbearable. But with time, as time goes on, as you're given space from when it happened, you can start healing, dealing with the pain better. Now, again, things may not go back to normal. You will never not miss a relative. You will never not miss someone who has passed away. But as the time passes and as space is put between you and the time or the day that they died, you start healing. Or what about a breakup? At the very beginning, it feels like your heart is broken. You feel like you'll never love again. You feel like this is the worst thing ever. But as you give yourself time and space, you start to heal. And the interesting thing about the time and the space is that, yes, as time goes on, your emotional attachment to that situation, it starts to get smaller and diminishes. But also, what space does, it gives you that new perspective. So now you may be able to look back at the situation and realize that maybe that person wasn't the best person for me. Or maybe that loss of that job was the best thing that ever happened to me. In the moment, it does not feel like that. But when you give yourself enough time and space, you get that emotional detachment from the situation. And more importantly, you get that new perspective based on the space between you and that situation. So time and space definitely heals, and we love to see it. We love to see it. We love that it happens that way. And again, that's what it is. The time and space is the buffers for our lives. The next thing is time and space. That's number two. Time and space helps us grow. Now, if you are somebody who's busy, on the go, if you're a dad, if you're a husband, you know that you always have something to do. There's a honey-do list, there's kids to see about, there's a wife to tend to. But we all know that in order for us to grow, we do need, we do need to have some time and space for ourselves. So growth requires time. We know that because we as humans, we start off where we can't even speak. So then we say a few words to where we are able to speak, solve equations, give speeches, all these things, right? So we know that time allows for growth, but space also allows for growth. Because if we look at in the Bible, for instance, when Jesus was walking the earth, even before he started his ministry, he was in the wilderness. He needed time and space. It's in that time and space to himself he was able to grow, to start his ministry. Even when he was with his disciples, you will see him withdraw and retreat to give himself some space from the crowds, from the hustle, from the bustle, from his work, his ministry, because it was in those moments of solitude, in those moments of, uh, not, I wouldn't say loneliness, but those moments of him by himself was where he was able to grow, where he was able to pray, where he was able to develop his ministry to then go back to the disciples and give them what they needed. Same thing with us, men. We're going to need time. We're going to need space. We're going to need space for ourselves where we could meditate, where we could think, where we could come up with plans, where we could strategize. We're going to need time and space. So time and space is definitely something that helps grow. Over time, you do the work on yourself, you grow in. You know, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. What is that? That is time. You need to put the time in on yourself, on working on yourself for you to see that growth. You need to give yourself the space to meditate, to think, to digest the things that you're learning to be able to grow. So that's why I believe time and space, again, it's a buffer for our life to allow for growth. Time and space. Think about a seed. You bury a seed, it needs time, it needs space for it to grow. Simple, simple, simple concept, but a very, very impactful concept when you think about it, right? The last one, and I like this one, time and space protects us. Now you might be asking, well, how time and space helps us? Well, time and space really helps us, it really protects us, it really helps us resist. And what I mean by that is, I mentioned earlier this specific example that temptation. So in the moment, you might be tempted and then you entertain it right away. When you don't give yourself time and space between what happens and your reaction, you could get caught up in temptation, addiction, whatever it may be, right? Think back to the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife. When Potiphar's wife went around Joseph, right, and she tried to seduce him, Joseph didn't say, I'm a man of God, I can, you know, brute force my way through this temptation. No, he actually ran away, leaving his garment in her hand. He basically took it and got up out of there, created space between him and the temptation. And it was a temptation because at the end of the day, it's a man and a woman. You know, the most powerful woman in the land. A lot of us will fall dead into that trap. But what he did was create space as soon as it happened. Same thing for us. When we fall into a trap, we fall into temptation, we fall into um, things that we shouldn't be doing or saying or listening to. If we create enough space, meaning the time it happened, even when we do fall short, create enough space between us and that thing or between us and that situation and create and put enough time as time goes on, that urge that we feel to go back to do that thing, or that urge that we feel to say those things, or that urge that we feel to entertain those things diminishes because we put enough space between us, or we put enough time between us. Don't ever feel like you're too big, you're too grown. Don't ever feel like you're so big, you're so grown, you're so spiritual that you could walk in the middle of temptation, in the middle of uh, that sin and feel like I'll be alright, I'll be able to maneuver through it. The Bible says to flee, create space, give yourself enough space and time away from said thing. Alright? That's why I strongly believe that space and time, again, the buffers for our life, will help us, will protect us. Because if we could create enough time and space from our addiction, from our temptation, from our sinful nature, then we will be protected and we won't fall into it over and over again. Now, in closing, I will say that time and space is a very simple concept. I feel like it might be even easier said than done, especially when we're in the midst of it. Just talking about that healing part of it again. When you're so heartbroken, you honestly can't see in the future a time where you're going to feel better. And it's hard to create space between your urges or your temptations, or it's hard to spend time or give yourself space in this very hyper socialized world. It's hard to give yourself time, space to grow. But it's imperative that we do this because not every battle is won by fighting harder. Some battles are won by creating enough time and space for wisdom to arrive. Now, what I mean by that is the ability to give yourself that buffer to think, to meditate, to pray, that buffer of time and space to do those things. Then we allow wisdom to arrive. And when the wisdom arrives, we could rest assured that we are going to make the right decision. The right decision to not entertain the temptation. The right decision to heal and not stay in a toxic situation. The right decision to take some time to grow, take some time to work on ourselves. That 10,000 hours to master whatever skill it is. So, in wrapping up, I will say remember, time and space heals us, time and space help us grow, time and space protect us and help us resist all the things that are coming for us. We need buffers. I strongly believe that God gave us these two buffers, time and space, so that we could become the best versions of ourselves. If you like this content, make sure you hit subscribe. Comment down below. Do you believe time and space are two God given buffers? And also, I gave three things. What is another thing that you believe time and space does for us and benefits us as men, as humans in general? So, it's your boy Ryan Inspires. That's all I had. Thanks for lending me your ears, lending me your eyes, and I'll see you in your next video. Peace.